Hello my fellow droogs and welcome to Director's Spotlight. This week we're highlighting Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick is a cinematic legend with a career spanning over 40 years as a director and occasional screenwriter. His influence on the film world is unmatched by anyone else, short of Orson Welles of course. You wouldn't have Star Wars or Close Encounters without 2001, you wouldn't have 300 without Spartacus, and you wouldn't have the modern day horror movie without The Shining. With a back catalogue of absolute gems, it's hard to recommend one film in particular, so let's start with the film that got everyone's attention. Dr. Strangelove. After the success of Paths of Glory, Spartacus and Lolita, Stanley Kubrick turned his attention to the then problem of a potential nuclear war. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, is a Cold War satire starring Peter Sellers, and George C. Scott. The screenplay drew from a number of sources, fact, fiction, and most importantly, Red Alert, a marvellous thriller novel by Peter George, the plot of which formed the film's basis. At points it's laugh-out-loud funny and broadly satirical with jokes about nuclear Armageddon that still hold up to this day, but at other times it's very poignant, making the threat of World War III all the more plausible. It probably contains 4 of the best comic performances of all time, and 3 of them from Peter Sellers. It's a marvellously well-written satire that deserves your immediate attention, so I recommend it with 4 out of 5 stars. After the success of Strangelove, Kubrick became fascinated with the notion of there being alien life out in the vastness of space, and began searching for source material for a potential science fiction movie. While searching for a collaborator on the screenplay, he had been recommended to seek out Arthur C. Clarke, and together they embarked on a very ambitious project that would take 4 years of development and ending up with 2001: A Space Odyssey, based on Clarke's then unfinished short story The Sentinel. 2001: A Space Odyssey is a remarkable journey through human evolution, technology, artificial intelligence, and extraterrestrial life. It's a movie that literally goes from the birth of mankind to the birth of a new species, and that's a testament to its long running time. The story itself details a series of encounters between human life and mysterious black monoliths that are apparently affecting the process of human evolution. We mostly follow a spaceship to Jupiter which is tracing a signal emitted from one such monolith found on the moon. The film itself is surprisingly imagistic. There's only 61 minutes of dialogue in the whole 2.5 hours it's on for. The soundtrack dances through the film and the spaceships dance across the screen. Simply put, this is a masterpiece and I recommend it with 5 out of 5 stars. You can find it on DVD and Blu-ray just about anywhere, and I command you to go and do so. After Stanley Kubrick's Napoleon project fell through, he was handed a novel to read by Terry Southern, who had been a screenwriter on Dr. Strangelove, and told him that it was worth his time. Kubrick had a genuine excitement about it and decided to proceed in adapting it. A Clockwork Orange is a 1971 science fiction film adapted faithfully from the Anthony Burgess novel of the same name. We follow Alex, a charismatic and oddly likeable sociopathic teenager, and his band of friends. Alex's interests include classical music, rape, and casual violence. It's set in a world in which teenagers basically have a run of the place, whilst the grown-ups cower in fear. The film journeys Alex's violent nature, his capture by the police, and his rehabilitation using fictional psychological conditioning called the Ludwiko technique. Stanley Kubrick takes this science fiction horror premise and expands it onto all new levels, including elements of satire and philosophical questions about violence, humanity, morality, and behavioural psychology. His portrait of humanity is profoundly bleak and profoundly dark throughout, implying that no one is unable to commit acts of amoral behaviour. It shows us all how evil we have the potential to be. Oftentimes scary, oftentimes it's funny, oftentimes it's like an acid trip through a fun fair. As a whole, the film suggests that we as human beings are all beasts, and the best thing for society to do about it is to keep the beast at bay for a while. An incredibly thought-provoking and still controversial film to this day. I'm recommending it with 5 out of 5 stars. For Stanley Kubrick, great successes would follow afterwards, such as Barry Lyndon and The Shining, but Stanley Kubrick would then take us into Vietnam. With Platoon and Apocalypse Now taking centre stage, Stanley Kubrick moves in with his own take on Vietnam. Full Metal Jacket depicts in the latter areas of the film the Battle of Hue, but where it really shines is the first half, depicting the training and psychological conditioning of the soldiers preparing for battle. R. Lee Ermey gives an astounding performance as the drill instructor, whilst Matthew Modine tackles Private Joker, the platoon's war journalist, with much more subtle approach. It's an understated role, and that's what makes it so interesting. The contrast between the two characters is always intriguing to watch. As the film progresses, it moves into much more darker territory, revisiting themes from Kubrick's previous work, such as the brainwashing element from A Clockwork Orange. But it never feels too familiar as Kubrick explores these themes from fresh angles. The war sequences are depicted graphically, and that's the whole idea. It's definitely something you'll need to see over and over again to fully appreciate the things going on elsewhere, such as the repeated Mickey Mouse imagery throughout the film, and even having the soldiers sing the Mickey Mouse Club theme over the end, and among other things. It's a Where's Wally amount of detail without it ever feeling overwhelming, which I suppose is where Stanley Kubrick's genius truly lies. It's an easy recommendation at 5 out of 5 stars. Well, those are just my suggestions, I could be wrong. Maybe you should let me know about your favourite Kubrick movies in the comments section below, and also let me know whose film career you particularly like to see me explore in a future episode. Next time you see me, we'll be looking at David Fincher, but in the meantime, ta-ra!